Welcome back, everyone, to the last lesson of August, the last lesson of the summer. And no, we did not plan to wear pink shorts and pants at the same time on the same day. It was just meant to be. So we are here today. Eve is with me to talk about the essential, most important follower moves that you need to know in order to dance at the milonga. So the way I'm thinking about it is, what is the most common movements that you're going to be led in as a follower that you need to have under your belt? Now, it's a little bit different from leaders. I think leaders have it a little bit easier because leaders are the ones who are setting the tone for the dance. So in order to lead, you actually don't have to know that many moves, but as a follower, you might actually have to know a little bit more. So I'm going to run through some of these moves with you right now in this lesson, and I would love to hear from you if there's a specific move from the ones I list that you have a difficulty with, that you have a lot of questions about. Pop that into the comments and let me know so that I can do another lesson on those. Okay, so first of all, as always, with anything to do with tango, social tango in particular, you have to be able to walk. And for followers, that means you have to be comfortable walking backwards and a lot of times in heels. So that in itself is a skill that you might have to work on, and there's different things you can do for it, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail into it now, just to point out that when you're walking in tango, the most important thing as a follower is for you to make sure that you step in straight lines. In tango, you really have three possibilities for a step. You have a back step, a forward step, and a side step. So it's a good practice whenever you're following to make sure that your back steps are tracking truly behind you, your forward steps are in front of you, and your side steps are truly side. So you want to avoid any sort of diagonal, unclear movement that might confuse the leaders, confuse your partners. So make it a habit for yourself when you are practicing different steps in tango, whichever direction, that you are emphasizing to yourself what direction you are stepping in. So in this case, in the walking, going straight behind yourself and being comfortable with that is essential. Now, the next important piece of vocabulary that you have to know is ochos. So from walking, they will look like this. So I can start walking, and then when I go into cross system that I've been talking about in these lessons throughout the series this year, you see how Eve is walking in this nice little zigzaggy pattern. So these are back ochos, and they're a little bit involving a pivot. There's a bit of a pivot there that she's doing, but not very much. Now I can make this ocho more pronounced and bigger by altering my step and going more to the side. And so this would be a more traditional ocho, back ocho shape that you might do in class. The reason why I don't end up doing a lot of these in a row in a social dance is because they hold up the line of dance, right? Here I'm stepping side. So instead of that, I want to be moving forward. So I tend to favor doing ochos that are a little bit more traveling, more walking ochos. Now, of course, I could do forward ochos. So if you can imagine back ochos, let's just reverse it. And now we're doing forward ochos. So this is, again, that exaggerated form of it where I'm going side to side. I'm not going to do too many of those, but as a follower, you want to be able to follow them. Sometimes you'll be asked to pivot and go a little bit forward, but it's not going to be a lot of those in a row. Most of the time, you'll feel a lead into some back ochos like this. And then the next shape that you really want to know, which very often comes right after you do a few of these ochos, is the cross, the exit into cross. So here I'm exiting, and Eve crosses and steps out. So the cross comes in different shapes. in different figures in tango, but it always feels the same way. It's always going to be the follower's left foot over right. So it might come from cross system, where I exit into cross. It might come from parallel system, where I walk on the outside and lead them into cross. It might come from ocho cortado, across here, or it might be from a turn. So when I initiate the turn, I resolve into cross here. So all of those are possibilities that you might experience as a follower in terms of places where you would feel the cross. But that readiness to cross the left foot over the right, kind of have to have it because it exists in so much of the vocabulary for tango. Okay, the next one that you kind of have to know and have under your belt is the boleo. Now, you might not need to learn it as a leader. You don't have to know how to lead boleos in order to dance at the milonga, but as a follower, you will be led in them. That's why I'm including them in this lesson. So I'm not going to go into a lot of technique on how to do the boleo, but just showing you what the boleo might look like. So we have, first of all, a back boleo, which will come most of the time out of ochos. So back ochos, and then I interrupt the back ocho to create a back boleo. So that kick that Eve does behind herself, that's the boleo. I can also do it on the other side, and it will look like that. Now this is a very high boleo, so you might not be able to do that kind of high boleo in a milonga. So it's your choice. You can do it that high if you have space, if you're at a practica, but typically you might want to do it a little smaller, so even though you might go off the ground, you just kick it slightly behind yourself, so it's a little bit more tight behind you. So that's another option. Same thing on this side. Now, sometimes you don't even have space for that, and actually in a crowded space, if you have your eyes closed when you're dancing, I actually recommend that you make it a rule as a default to keep your foot on the floor during the boleo, so it will look more like this. So I will interrupt the ocho, and the Eve keeps the foot on the ground and then comes back. Same thing on the other side, keeps it on the ground, and then it comes back, right? So that's going to be your back boleos. The front boleos are not as often led, so it's a little bit less common, but it will look something like this, comes out of forward ochos and looks like that. So other side, there we go. There we go, nice. So those are going to be your forward boleos. That's what they look like. So expect to be led into those from time to time, but the back boleos are going to be a little bit more common. Now, the next thing that you really need to know is the molinete. The molinete is a series of steps that you will do as a follower when the leader invites you to go around them. So if I just start turning around myself, Eve is going to go forward, side, back, side, forward. She's going to do that without me telling her or leading that specifically. She just knows that that's a rule in tango, that when the follower goes around the leader, they follow this pattern of steps. And not only the pattern, but also the timing. And that is that the back step is going to be a quick rhythm. So all the steps except the back step are going to be slow, but the back step is going to be double time. So watch. Slow, 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 quick, quick, slow, slow, quick, quick, slow, slow. So the molinete, it's very common to lead the molinete for different turns. So I might not lead the full molinete around me, but I might use it to do something else. What you need to know as a follower is that as long as I'm turning, you're going to continue to go around me, and it's my job to interrupt it. You don't have to guess where you're going to exit. You just need to know that you're going to be going around me as long as I want until I introduce something else. And if you notice, the steps that make up the molinete, some of them are forward ochos and other ones are going to be back ochos. So the ocho system, the ocho shape, is folded into the structure of the molinete. So as a follower, just know that going around your leader, you need to follow that pattern and make sure you do the double timing on the back step. Now, the last piece I suggest that you really know for sure is that when you feel a touch of a leader's foot on your foot, that means stop. So, for example, when I am dancing with Eve, and sometimes you might feel the leader, I'll do it on this side, the leader touch your foot on the side, or maybe they touch it on this side, or on this side. Anytime that you feel a touch, that means pause. Keep the foot there. And there's different things that are possible. Maybe the leader does something like this, more of the sandwich. That's a possibility. Or the leader might do something like this, and more of a barrida, kind of a slidey step there. So there's different things that are possible from that position, and you as a follower just need to know that if you feel the leader's touch on your foot, that you just need to pause and wait there. All right, so those are the steps that I recommend that you have under your belt as a follower, minimum, in order to start dancing. If you know most of these already, then you're pretty much ready to go to the milonga. If any of them are still really confusing, let me know in the comments which ones you would like me to address in these lessons. And you want to tune in next week, because next week I'm going to be starting a monthly live lesson here on YouTube. So you'll be able to tune in at this time and join me live, where I will be teaching you the lesson and answering your questions in real time. So I hope I see you then. And until then, have a great one. Ciao.